Golden relish is one of those really fun sweet relish recipes that tastes so good on all kinds of meat. It also tastes good to add to some of the pasta salads. And the interesting thing about this one is that its primary ingredient is actually apples. So this is a really fun one to make in the fall when those are more prevalent. One of the other things that I like about this recipe is you don't actually have to peel your apples. All you have to do is core them, and then I cut them in half, and then I quarter them, and then I put them in the food processor. Now when I do this, I usually try to do the pulsing method a little bit more, just because I don't want it to get so incredibly liquid. So I want it to get down to that relish size, but I don't want it to be this mushy mess. I then peeled my carrots and chopped off the ends, and then I cut them into manageable sizes for the food processor. And then I also threw those in the food processor and got them down to a nice relish size. The next ingredient is celery, which I again cut down to a manageable size for the food processor, which is probably about 3 inches. And then I put those through the food processor. I then cored my green peppers, cut them in half, and then quartered those halves before food processing them using that same pulsing method. And I did the very same thing with my red peppers. Now that I have all of my fruits and vegetables food processed, it's time to combine them in the pot. So I'll start with 8 food processed apples, and then 4.5 cups of sugar, 4 cups of food processed carrots, 4 cups of food processed celery, 2 food processed green peppers, 2 food processed sweet peppers, 2 cups of water. This will supply the liquid that's needed for the cooking down. 2 tablespoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of mustard seed, 2 cups of white vinegar, and 2 teaspoons of celery seed. I'll then place this on the stove and let it simmer just until the carrots are tender. That usually takes about 45 minutes. So it looks lovely now. The vegetables are nice and soft and perfect. So I'll load them into my pint-sized jars, up to 1/2 of an inch of headspace. Headspace is the space from the top of the food to the top of the jar. I try to make sure that I get a mixture of the more liquid stuff at the bottom and the more dry stuff at the top, just so that one jar isn't way more liquidy than another. So now I go through with a plastic or a wooden spatula and debubble my jars. This just makes it so that if there's any air in there, it gets released. I would never do this with a metal utensil because I wouldn't want to scratch the jar. And I just kind of slide it down along the sides, maybe a little in the middle. And then I fine-tune that headspace with a spoon. Because this is such a thick relish, it's kind of hard to tell what the headspace is until you press it down a little bit. I'll then use a clean, damp cloth to wipe off the rim of my jars. This just makes sure that if any of the liquid got on the edge, that it won't interfere with the seal. I then place my lids and rings on until they're fingertip tight. Now I'll place these in the boiling water bath and process them for 15 minutes if I'm at sea level. I'm at 1,200 feet, so I'll go for 20. And I won't start my timer until after it starts to boil. Now that the timer's gone off, I'll remove the lid and turn off the heat and let it cool for 5 minutes. I'll then place these on a heat-resistant surface about 1 to 2 inches apart so that they can cool nicely. I'll leave them there for 24 hours until they get a really nice seal. I know that they've sealed if the center of the lid is depressed down. If it didn't seal, I'll put it in the refrigerator and use it right away. But if it did, I'll remove the rings, wash off the outside with hot soapy water, and then store it in a cool, dry, dark location like my pantry for the next 1 to 3 years. So for the taste test, it's so good. It's got so it's really sweet, like a sweet relish you'd expect. And then you've got that tang of the vinegar. You can definitely taste those peppers in there and the carrots. It's kind of fun because it's like this fruit vegetable relish. This is really good if you put it in a pasta salad. That's probably my favorite. Get your noodles going, throw some of this in there, some mayonnaise, some cheese, some boiled eggs, maybe some chunks of ham. That would be delicious.